unfortunately that doesn't mean getting up at 11 o'clock in the morning and sitting in your pants. Hey guys, so today I thought I'd tackle a question that I get asked quite a bit, which is whether I should or you should start your own business. Obviously this is something that is relatively difficult for me to answer, surprisingly or not, because I did start my own business at the age of 19 and have never actually worked for anyone else, so I can't really compare it against anything else, which makes, as I say, this slightly tricky to answer. But what I can do is tell you about some of the things that you will need to be prepared for if you do start your own business. So I think if we start at the very beginning, obviously when you start up you need to have finance, and that's got to come from somewhere, whether it's your own savings or investment or whatever it might be. But finance is what keeps you going in business. It's what, if you don't have it, then you can't expect to carry on running a business. I'm talking at the moment obviously about when you have your own things, so this is probably just you or one other person on the books, and you know, you're paying for your own wage. When we started, we had 3 of us, and we were lucky we had a bit of family money to kick things off. Not very much, but just enough to keep things going, and it kept us going for about 6 months, and we had to bring in enough sales to carry the business on. After about 6 months we suddenly started having money coming in, but wasn't an awful lot, if I'm honest with you. The next thing that you need to be aware of is when you start to employ people. So here's where HR comes in, and suddenly you learn new lessons about what it is like to look after other people, have other people's problems put on you because they look to you as their manager for the answers quite often. And this is something that is, for many people who wanted to run a business in the first place, they wanted to do that because it was what they loved, it was their passion, and suddenly you find out that you've got other people's thoughts and issues and challenges at heart, and you know, you have to spend as much time looking at them as you do your own business. So people management is another major part to running a business that you will need to be aware of. Along the similar lines as that of the employing people, you have to realise that when you are running a business you have a lot of responsibilities, and even if that's even if you're on your own, those responsibilities are around, you know, maybe you've got a family you need to provide for, you need to get money in the door, and what that means is that you suddenly need to go from being somebody who's good at something, whether it's building a product or offering a service, to someone who's a salesperson, to an accounts person, to an HR person, to all these different facets of business which maybe you're not actually that used to. And again, you have to kind of get yourself to the point where you are actually quite good at those things as well, especially when you start the business, because you're not going to be able to afford to pay people to do those different things for you. I think one of the most common misconceptions is about money, and running your own thing you'll be suddenly really rich. Well, think again, it's not that easy, guys. Unless you get really lucky and you come up with some wonder product that everybody needs, it's going to be quite tricky to earn money, and you're going to have to sell first, so you're going to have to get people to buy your product or service, and then you're going to have to actually make that product or service and do those 2 things at exactly the same time. And you can't take your foot off the pedal when it comes to sales, because you know you're gonna need to keep selling. So again, don't sort of get misunderstood about the whole money thing, because it's not as easy as people think. I think people get very carried away with being rich, and actually you know, running your own business is a great way of having a fantastic lifestyle, but it's actually not that many people that manage to take businesses from lifestyle businesses to making serious money. You're going to need to have courage in your conviction as well, and what I mean by that is that you're going to need to make strong decisions that you back and that you stick with, but also be adaptable enough to change and be agile, that if things don't quite go the way that you wanted them to, that you can quickly flip and actually go another way. And that's another really key trait, I think, of a good entrepreneur, is that they're ready to admit that they're wrong and are willing to take another path, which may not be the path that they wanted to take in the first place. You're going to want to be disciplined in terms of what you do yourself. So many people who start their own businesses have to look after their own time, and that could be perhaps a problem for some people, because maybe if you've been used to working for someone and you've had kind of frameworks and structures around you, that's not going to exist when you have your own business. So you suddenly need to look after those things and make sure that you're on top of them in the best way you can be. And if you're not, then you're probably going to struggle. So it does mean that obviously you're going to get to choose your own hours, and unfortunately that doesn't mean getting up at 11 o'clock in the morning and sitting in your pants and doing what you want for the day, or maybe it does, but ultimately the buck stops at you. So if you do that, you make that choice, and then you don't actually earn any money because of it, then you've only got yourself to blame. And you know what, when I started 15, 16 years ago, things were very different. Work hours were typically sort of 9 to half 5, 9 to 6, but there's so many companies out there these days where those working ethics don't exist. So if that's what drives you and you want something slightly different, in terms of times and when you work, and if you work better at night or early in the morning, there's plenty of companies out there that will offer that to you. So maybe again, it's another reason to not necessarily just think about running your own thing. When times are tough and you're running your own company, you literally have no one to turn to. You might have friends and family who can give you a few pointers here and there, but if they haven't run their own businesses, then it's hard for them to actually comment on those and give you the support that you might need. More often than not, I remember hearing, it'll be fine, don't worry about it, when actually, they didn't necessarily understand what we were perhaps going through at the time, and weren't necessarily in the best place to comment or make those suggestions that things were going to be fine. But the upsides, undoubtedly, certainly for me anyway, outweigh the downsides. And the upsides are that you're your own boss, you can do what you want, you can make your own decisions, you don't have to answer to anybody, you make your own money, whether that's a little bit of money or a lot of money, and you have the freedom to do whatever it is that you feel is right for you and your path. So choosing if you want to run your own business is actually quite a tricky choice. It's not one that I can tell you whether you're ready for or not, but maybe you are better suited to having an impact or making an impact in someone else's business than actually running your own thing. It's not as glamorous as some people think, and it's certainly not as easy as many people think. Unless you've actually tried it yourself, I think it's quite hard to comment on. But the pressures that you have are undoubtedly extreme. And I remember back in the very early days where I had many sleepless nights about whether we would have enough money to even pay ourselves or pay our rent or anything like that. That sort of stuff is what you have to put up with when it comes to running your own thing. So think about it very carefully, and don't make any rash decisions. But as I say, if you ever want to ask anybody about what it's like, then please do ask me, comment below, or write to me on social media. Very happy to always talk to other young or any budding entrepreneurs really. So I hope that's useful, guys, and until then, I'll see you next time.